What did we learn from UFC 309 last night where Jon Jones was harassing a senior citizen they found on the side of the street? I don't know what happened. There was supposed to be Stipe in there, but there was just this random old fucker in there who was terrible looking. All right, let's just cut the bullshit. This event was a historic moment for the UFC, as in a low point, a terrible card. And yeah, let's talk about what we learned from it. Because, I mean, there's a decent amount we took away from this card. It may be a lot of negatives, but we still learned a decent amount. Starting with the main man himself, Jon Jones. Okay, what did we learn about Jon Jones? Well, we learned for sure that this dude is not washed. Okay, he looked faster and just more sharp than he ever has in the past few years. I think he looked better than he did against Dominic Reyes. I think he looked better than he did against Anthony Smith, Santos. He looks better than he did against any of those people. Way better, way faster, trimmed a lot of that fat off, which was a big help, I assume. And that may just have been from there being a worse opponent in front of him, aka Stipe, Old Man Stipe. But it doesn't matter, whoever was the reason or whatever was the reason for Jon looking better than he did tonight. I mean, there was no narrative going into this fight that he was washed, obviously. I'm not saying there was, but there was definitely a slight narrative that he's old. He's getting, just all of his past performances. He looks so slow and plotty on the feet. And I know there was a good amount of people saying Stipe was going to pull this shit off. Yeah, maybe if Stipe actually had fought him 4 years ago or something, that may have been a possibility, but no. Stipe had nothing, man. He was so plotty and just, yeah. What did we learn about Stipe? He's done, and he should have never been fighting in this fight. Well, we already knew that. We already all thought that. So, yeah, we didn't learn much about Stipe, but we definitely learned that Jon Jones is still a threat, still in his prime somewhat, and he'd be a good fight for Tom Aspinall. Just fight him! Just fucking fight him, you pussy! Stop trying to fight Alex Pereira, the shit grappler, the smaller guy, the less dangerous guy. Just fight Tom Aspinall, you pussy! We obviously also took away that Jon Jones did not retire. Okay, he didn't give the belt back. He's still thinking about what he wants to do, negotiating, whatever. Okay, get the belt to Tom, fight Tom, whatever. I don't care how he gets the belt. Tom needs the fucking belt. He's the real champion, and we've already known that. And yeah, we also learned that Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones are never fighting. If Jon Jones wanted to fight him and was just lying this whole time, like he kind of alluded to on the post-fight speech, no. All right, he just was talking about Pereira. He wants to fight Derek Lewis, my bad. Yeah, we learned that he's never going to fight Tom Aspinall. He's going to duck and run forever, and that's okay, I guess it's just we have to accept, our goat, not my goat, your guys' goat. The GOAT, the popular GOAT, doesn't want to prove it, and people saying and agreeing with Jon's delusional ass that Tom is not a good win. I get it. Jones has been disrespected, doubted by every crazy guy who was meant to beat him. Every guy was meant to be that guy, and they never were. I understand. But Jon Jones has never had to fight a guy bigger than him, okay? The only times he did, he lost and almost lost. Gustafsson, Reyes, Santos, all these guys who are as big as him were the only guys to actually give him struggle and make a competitive fight with him. Crazy, I know. And now we have a Tom Aspinall who dwarfs Jon Jones, hits harder, has the jiu-jitsu, and yeah, is at the top of the division. I just don't understand how nobody wants to... Well, no, everyone wants to see this fight. I don't understand how Jones doesn't want to give the fans the fight. He's such a hypocrite. Says on the post-fight speech after beating Gon, we're going to give the fans what they want. Immediately after saying that, doesn't give us the fight we want, does what he wants, only cares about himself, which that's okay. You can do that as a fighter. Low-key, fuck the fans. We're kind of assholes, but don't act like you're that guy who's the fucking fan favorite when you're not, okay? Half the fans hate you, bro, because you're not giving us what we want. All right, moving on to Michael Chandler. What did we learn about Michael Chandler? That Dustin Poirier was right. This guy is a dirty fighter, douche, just blatant cheater. Cheated the whole entire fight. Started the fight off landing an eye poke that didn't even get the ref had said nothing about it, didn't stop it at all. Charles complained about it, but they had to keep going. You know, another moment where Charles almost got somewhat finished because of terrible reffing. Fire that ref. He's terrible. And yeah, he also grabbed the cage while getting taken down multiple times. And then we obviously know the back of the head shots in round 5. That exchange was just embarrassing. The ref had it. The ref was like leaning in, looking closer. He was looking at it literally 2 inches away, and he just did nothing. It's like he was scared to step in, stopping a finish or something. He's cheating. He's hitting the back of his head. Why do we have rules? Yeah, Chandler's a scumbag. I hated him before this fight. And yeah, I hate him now even more. Embarrassed himself, calling out McGregor. That's also something we learned. We learned that he will always be loyal to his daddy McGregor, and he'll do what he says. He's going to continue to beg for that money fight. And yeah, there's not much else to say about Chandler. Charles Oliveira, what did we learn about him? That his wrestling is improving, okay? I kind of said he looked a little worse in my video yesterday, recapping the card, but no. Okay, he didn't look worse. He just looked different, all right? He was a lot more calm, a lot more defensively sound, a lot less volume heavy on the feet. You know, he's throwing a lot less. He was mixing in the kicks. The calf kicks were good, but he always does that, you know? The big difference in this fight was the wrestling. He was the one going for takedowns, trying to get the person on the ground, control them, look for the submission in that way, which usually he's the guy who doesn't wrestle. He always just defensively wrestles, uses his submissions as his defense, and that usually works really well. But in this fight, I guess he didn't want to risk anything. And yeah, he also wanted to make a statement maybe that his wrestling is getting a lot better, which would be a good point to make if you're trying to fight Islam or Arman again, which is really the only fights for him. Everyone was saying, including Joe Rogan, all them, that he's guaranteed a title shot next. I don't know. I think he could low-key earn it more by fighting one more time, especially since both of the guys he's going to have to fight for the title is going to be a rematch. So we'll see. Charles, you're still the guy, but I was a bit disappointed. You know, if Dustin Poirier can sub Michael Chandler, even if they're exhausted, he still subbed him. You know, I'd expect Charles Oliveira to get the sub. It's just kind of weird that it didn't happen. Then Bo Nickal, good old Bot Nickal. What do we learn about him? We learned that he's not as comfortable in jiu-jitsu as we thought, okay? What do we learn? We learned he's not ready for the top 10 or top 15. He's not ready for a ranked fighter. He's going to have to go a little slow, all right? I know he's been going slow, and he's been preaching that he's going to go slow the whole time because that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to get tested too fast and just lose. You know, he wants to take his time, enjoy his career, and that makes sense. But man, bro, you can't even chin Paul Craig. It shows his striking power is not anything special. He couldn't find the chin of Paul Craig. He landed like 1 or 2 overhands pretty cleanly, and it didn't even rock Paul Craig, which is surprising for how chinny he's looked in a lot of his past performances recently. Yeah, I think this just proves that he's not ready, you know? He's still very uncomfortable with his jiu-jitsu. I know he flexed that he went to a jiu-jitsu class and just beat everybody. That story is definitely bullshit. He's cringe as fuck for that. But yeah, he's so scared of getting submitted and not knowing what to do if he gets in a dangerous submission attempt from Paul Craig that he doesn't wrestle, refuses to shoot a single takedown the whole fight. And you could say that that was his game plan to prove a point that he can strike with a striker. But Paul Craig's not a good striker, man. And he was just okay. And I guess that's the reason he was okay with doing it, because it was a pretty low-risk game plan. It was low-key the right game plan, you know, like low-key was. But it doesn't change the fact that you went tit for tat in a close 3-round fight on the feet with Paul Craig, who was throwing nothing with intent, nothing with killer instinct, just weak kicks and weak little jabs to the body. Nothing dangerous. He couldn't hurt Bo Nickal at all. Just embarrassing. So yeah, Bo Nickal, we learned he's just not ready. You know, he's not ready for these guys who are well-rounded and can shoot takedowns and get submissions and strike. He's just not, okay? He's going to need another layup or two. I feel bad because the fans booed him. We also learned that the fans fucking hate him, casual and hardcore, because the whole crowd was chanting overrated. That was absolutely just terrible. I felt so bad. I don't like Bo Nickal, but that was disgusting. You fans are so mean for that. He did not deserve to get booed out of the arena, okay? It was his first time not finishing somebody right in the UFC, which I said this. I said the fans are going to turn on him as soon as he doesn't get the finish. He turns into a boring fighter. And it happened, you know? Unfortunate. I feel bad, but it wasn't the best performance. And what do we learn from Paul Craig? That this dude is terrible, okay? It just seemed like he was really excited about not getting finished. Like, when the second round ended, he went to his corner and was just like, or no, I think he did this in the end of the first round. And so I'm having fun, man. Yeah, you're not getting knocked out, I guess, which was fun, but yeah, he didn't look good at all. I honestly, he should have shot. He should have shot a takedown. He should have tried to get his jiu-jitsu into effect, try to get a submission attempt somehow, because both of these guys were just okay with having no success in the feet, just going tip for tap. Bullshit, all right? This was just not a good performance by either guy. What do we learn about Mauricio Ruffy? Okay, we learned he's a showboater. We learned he's insanely powerful. And yeah, he's the real deal. But we also learned that James Lantop is no pushover. Guy has a really good chin, really good recovery. And yeah, decent gas tank. He was out voluming Ruffy basically all 3 rounds, you know? There's probably an argument to say he won the fight. I don't think he did. I think Ruffy landed the significant strikes and outdamaged him. But it was a close fight, you know? It was competitive at some points, especially in the first round. After the first round ended, I had low-key James winning the first. You know, it was crazy. But Ruffy still looked good. He just needs to chill in the showboating, all right? And what do we learn about James? He's probably getting cut, but if he doesn't, I think that's a good thing. I think he proved himself. I think he's pretty good, pretty tough. Even if it was a catchweight bout and his fat ass didn't have to cut any weight, which was terrible. That was stupid. This is how you lose. Fighting fat asses like this, getting outsized, okay? Don't do this shit again, Ruffy. But people are going to want to fight him now, that's for sure. They're not going to be scared anymore. And no, this was not a fraud check. I don't want to hear anyone saying this was a fraud check, okay? Just because you don't get a finish every time you fight doesn't mean you're fraud checked. Still a very good fighter. I think Kyle has gotten a lot of decisions in the UFC so far, so we can't really come at him for this. All right, he did good. Moving on to Marcus McGee. What do we learn about him after getting a win over Jonathan Martinez? You know, I think we really learned that Marcus McGee's power is nothing crazy, okay? He's a really powerful guy, really good power puncher, but I saw a lot of people saying he was going to knock out Jonathan easily, and his power is just insanely, like, crazy, just nothing we've ever seen before. No one can hang with him. Not true, and I knew this wasn't true. I knew Jonathan Martinez was going to make this competitive. I knew it was going to be a good fight. You know, the first 2 rounds were pretty dominant by Marcus. He did win them. But then Jonathan Martinez came so close to finishing him. What do we learn about Jonathan Martinez? He's still really tough. Losing to Jose Aldo doesn't mean you're fraud checked, okay? He was on a crazy win streak before. Now he's on a 2-fight skid. Unfortunate. But he looked good. He just needs to fix that plottiness, okay? He was scared to throw because he was scared of the power. He let it get to him, all right? So yeah, we learned Marcus McGee does not have crazy knockout power. I knew he didn't, you know. A lot of his finishes have been early. I've always thought this, you know. I love Marcus McGee, really good guy, but his power is not as crazy as we all thought. All right, that's definitely the truth. And we had Jim Miller. What did we learn here? Absolutely nothing. All right, we learned that Jim Miller's still in the UFC and didn't retire. Yeah, we learned he still has his submission attempts. They're still there. They're still dangerous for sure. But this was a Damone Jackson who retired that night. Didn't even want to give a speech. He was so salty and pissed. Just walked out of there. He was given the opportunity. He just didn't. He refused, I think. So, unfortunate. We didn't learn much here. What do we learn about David Omna? He's a dog, all right? He can get hurt. He can come back, and he can stay in the fight and win it, okay? I was really impressed by this performance by both these guys. Roberto, whatever his name is. I think that's backwards, but he's really good as well. We learned that he deserves to be in the UFC, all right? Don't kick him out because he got a loss, all right? This was his one shot, but he did good, all right? He looked really good, almost finished him in the first round, so I say we learned that he deserves to be in the UFC still, all right? Keep him in. Don't kick him out, please. And then what do we learn about Marcin Tybura? I think we just learned that heavyweight is a dead division. Deniz, another prospect who got fucking shut down and fraud checked by Marcin Tybura. He's beating them all. This dude doesn't lose to anybody other than Aspinall. He's crazy. He's goated. But yeah, we learned that heavyweight is shit. We already knew that. But Marcin did look good. He had some pretty vicious elbows. Got the doctors to step in. We also learned that New York is a salty-ass and soft-ass state. Not salty, soft, okay? They're a soft state. No wonder. Nice and big old blue state, you know, but the whole crowd was still on Trump's side. That was crazy to see. And then last fighter on the card that I want to talk about. We learned Oban Elliott is a badass, all right? He's a low-key little star with the Welsh fans. You know, we learned he's pretty popular. There was so many people there holding up Welsh flags. And we learned he has decent hands, you know, decent knockout power. I was really surprised he was able to put away Basil that crazily because he was a bit Wonder Boyish, you know, really clean, slick, karate style. Doesn't make a mistake. Doesn't go for any big risks. But yeah, at the same time, it doesn't have power and struggles to get the cool, flashy KOs. But he did not struggle with that in this performance. Okay, got a crazy, vicious KO. We learned that he's really good. You know, he definitely deserves a big step up in competition after this one. But yeah, terrible card, man. This was just a blemish on Jon Jones' record, a blemish on his legacy, where one of his last performances, one of his best performances, he looked so good tonight. Imagine to Aspinall was in there and he did that to Aspinall. He'd be at the top of the world, even more so. He'd be getting glazed 10 times more, okay? And there'd be nothing that anybody could say. Why not shut us up if it's so much of an easy fight for Jones? If he finishes Tom like y'all think. Why don't he fight him? All right? He'd make just as much money, if not more, than if he fought Pereira. Do the fight. That's the fight that needs to happen. But yeah, that's the video, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.